Poised for Exit is a show for business owners who want to achieve a successful exit based on their own terms. Your business exit will likely be the biggest financial transaction of your life, and for most, you'll have one shot at doing it right. The topics and guests we feature and the stories they share will provide valuable ideas and strategies to improve operations and grow enterprise value so you can achieve the best possible exit outcome. Now here's your host, award-winning certified exit planning advisor, Julie Keys.
Welcome, everyone, to the Poised for Exit podcast show. Our guest today is a wealth advisor whose work with business owners has earned him some national recognition. We're going to hear from him and his client-centric work with business owners right after these messages.
Exiting your business is a big deal, both financially and emotionally. I'm John Marquet, certified exit planning advisor with TrustPoint. We help business owners transition smoothly on their terms. Our focus is on maximizing value, minimizing stress, and giving you confidence in what's next. Whether you're selling or passing the torch, we make the process seamless. Start planning today at trustpointinc.com. That's trustpointinc.com.
Are you a business owner getting ready to transition? If so, I recommend True North Mergers and Acquisitions as your confidential strategic partner. They understand your business sale isn't just about one buyer and the price, but what you net that counts. In other words, what you get to keep. When you're ready for a higher level of representation that delivers consistent results, contact True North M&A to do the heavy lifting of selling your business. Learn more at tnma.com. That's tnma.com.
My name is Todd Crow, and I'm the president of the Twin Cities Exit Planning Chapter. If you're a business owner and advisor and want to learn more about the world of exit planning, you're invited to visit the Twin Cities chapter of the Exit Planning Institute. You can expect top-level education delivered by subject matter experts at every monthly meeting. Grow your network and draw from the learning that could be a game changer for your business or your practice. There's no pressure to become a member, so come and see what the buzz is all about. Our meetings are held the second Wednesday of the month, 7:30 to 9 a.m. See the show notes for more information and registration links.
Thinking about selling your business in the next few years? Don't wait to start planning. I've seen too many business owners wait too long and regret it. Freedom Financial Partners are financial advisors who specialize in exit planning for business owners, helping you reduce tax surprises, protect what you've built, and quantify how much you need from the sale. Their proven process helps you think beyond your business so you can move forward with clarity and confidence. The longer you wait, the fewer options you may have. Download your free financial readiness assessment today at ffpforme.com/exit. That's ffpforme.com/exit. Hello, Poised for Exit listeners. We are here today with Vincent Renda, who's a financial advisor with Edward Jones. Vincent, welcome to Poised for Exit.
Thank you so much, Julie. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to join the show.
So glad that you could be here. I was so impressed when we first met, learning about your practice and all the things that you're doing to grow your practice internally and externally, like a good business owner should. And we're going to talk all about that, including like your national awards and the great work environment that you've built. But first, before we get to all that and the success stories, I'd really like to have you just share with us, what was it about becoming a financial advisor that compelled you to get into that industry? And then why did you choose Edward Jones?
Thank you, Julie. Yes, really what got me into Edward Jones was a lot has to do with my past, right? I have grandparents are both Italian immigrants from Sicily. They both came over and were business owners. My grandfather on my father's side was a tire shop owner. My father and grandfather on my mother's side were deli owners. And then I didn't really get to interact with them much. They passed away when I was still young, but my mom and dad ran a rental business, a multifamily home, and I was involved constantly. I didn't realize I was involved in a family-owned business until certainly later on in life, but it was just life for me, right? I swept and mopped the floors. I collected rent checks. I interacted with tenants here and there. I helped my dad hold a flashlight when he was fixing tenants' broken sinks.
Oh boy.
And yeah, it's just the life of a family-owned business, a child growing up in a family-owned business, right? And then I joined the Navy after high school. I joined the Navy. I was in the Navy for 4 years. I got my degree after the military in finance and economics. And then Edward Jones hired me to really move home and open up the branch that I'm in today. And I've been with Edward Jones for 20 years. I'm an accredited asset management specialist through the College of Financial Planning. I'm a certified financial planner through NYU and the College of Financial Planning. And I'm
Mm,
also a certified planning advisor through the Exit Planning Institute. And it's that really highlighted my desire and my passion to serve business owners because of my past and how much difference I can make for them. And I have a great team, really. I have my branch office administrator, Sylvia, really helps with all things administrative. And then I have a associate financial advisor, Jennifer Stork, who helps service our clients to create a lot of capacity so I can meet with those business owners and that need a lot of tender love and care, right? And
for
and
sure.
we provide that in spades. And we have a great professional advisor network, our virtual family office experience for our niche clients, which is filled with experts, vetted experts of estate planning attorneys, CPAs, value experts, PNC advisors, really helping to build a comprehensive approach to service these business owner clients we serve. I'm lucky to be married to my wife, Elena, and I have a great 9-year-old son who's very active and passionate and curious about business as well. So it's been nice to pass the family legacy in some ways to him as well. And I'm very active in my community. So this is just another way for me to give back and make a difference for people I care about and the world at large.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love the long, history of entrepreneurism in your family because it really does get in your blood. I know that from firsthand experience.
Mhm.
And then of course, gosh, going back to where you grew up to really make a difference in that community as a financial advisor, because that is like the number one advisor for every business owner is their financial advisor. Whether they believe that or know that or not, having the right relationship in that particular spot is essential for your life, not just for the transition of a business. Yeah. And, you and I were talking before the show started about an exit transaction or an exit transition, or is it a transition? Yeah, I know you've got some thoughts on that and maybe even a client story to share. So let's go there for a second.
It's a great question too, and it's common for business owners. As a business owner myself, right? I think to myself, okay, well, what's the end game? What am I going to do when I'm done with my business?
Mm-hmm.
And some people look at it as a way for me to cash out. Okay, it's a transaction. I want to sell my business and then walk away and sail off into the sunset. But what does that sunset look like, right? Edward Jones has done a lot of research over the last few years, starting in 2019 and really expanded on it through 2023, what
Yeah.
we call the 4 pillars of retirement.
Mm-hmm.
For a business owner, retirement looks very different and a lot for everybody, right? But there's 4 pillars for everyone. It's family, health, purpose, and finance. And and I think we can all agree, or the majority of us still want a life of that we can live a long life of healthy, engaged, purposeful life, right?
Yes.
All of us want to live that type of life. If we can be healthy and engaged with our family and our loved ones and purposeful, we're going to live a fulfilling life. And the finances are a way for us to make that happen and make that a reality. And so it's not about just the sale and the finance side of the business. It's about what are we going to transition into, right? What's the purpose beyond my business when I do sell it? Because so much of our business is who we are. And if we're not looking for something, a purpose outside of our business, trouble could start brewing. And I'll give you an example,
Mm-hmm.
a client example that I think is really insightful. A client of mine who's looking to sell her business. She's been in business for 30 plus years and her whole business is who she is,
Yeah.
right? It's everything. And
Mm-hmm.
and I went through with her these 4 pillars and I asked her, I said, well, what would you do if you did sell day one, you sold the business, you don't have to get up to go open the doors and lift up the gate to have people come in and frequent your business. What would you do after? And she looked at me dead in the eye and with tears welling, she didn't know. She had no idea. And that really was the barrier between her really wanting to sell and actually going through with it.
Mm.
And we don't have a resolution yet on whether the business is sold or not. But right now we're working towards through a process with her to see what's going to fulfill her and give her meaning and purpose in life outside of her business. And I think that's not financial, right? The financial part of it and what the business will sell for will, or I think, will naturally flow when she figures out the purpose that she will have beyond the business. And that's why I strongly believe that exiting is not a transaction. It's 100% a transition and transitioning into whatever is important to you next.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, to your point, when you asked her that question, I'm sure that that question resonates with a lot of our listeners too, where, they want to sit down and really think about their next act, but some of that, when they think about, okay, well, what will that look like? It's really hard to get that process started. What should I be thinking about? What do I want to do with my time? Can I even afford, right, to live the lifestyle that I'm living right now? And if we have listeners out there who can't answer that question, then the first step to the answer to that is to establish a really great relationship with a financial advisor who can help you figure that out, because we want to be able to have the best next act possible. And I think that's what you're talking about with this particular client. So let's talk about planning. When we talk about if you have, like, as a business owner, maybe I do have a financial plan, and so if I'm financially independent of the business because I have had a plan and I've been saving, and I do have clients who don't need financially to sell their business, although they will. Tell me, what, in your opinion, what does that do to the value of the business if it's not dependent on whether the owner is present or not?
Well, the reality is if the business is solely reliant on the owner, it makes your business less valuable, right? If
Right,
I'm buying a business and I'm trying to buy it away from the owner, and the owner no longer is showing up every day, running the day-to-day of the practice, then I'm going to need to know that I can have the same predictable results that they have had. So we work through a process with our business owners, again, to identify a couple of things, because if the business is operating solely reliant on them, it's going to be less valuable. But also, too, if they don't have personal wealth outside of the business, they're opening their own future up for vulnerability, right? And so we
right,
work through a process to help them identify really what we call the wealth gaps and the value gaps. A lot of business owners, for instance, run personal expenses through their business.
right.
And that's normal, expected.
Sure.
And it's a lot of us forget that if they sold the business, these expenses are still things that are part of your lifestyle.
Hmm.
Again, if I could tell a client story, we ran a valuation for another business owner client of ours. And initially, when we sat down, I asked every client of ours, what's your lifestyle? What's your budget? Right. And I'm not asking the question to put them on a financial diet. I'm asking them to really understand what their lifestyle is. And so this particular client said, my annual expenses are about $250,000 a year. I was like, okay, no problem. Wrote it
Hmm.
down, and then we ran a valuation for her business and realized that she runs about $500,000 of personal expenses through the business.
Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, yeah. Think about the gap of planning, right?
Yes.
I thought I was planning to maintain a lifestyle of 250,000, when in reality I need to plan a lifestyle of $750,000 a year. That's a big gap.
Huge. Yeah. Right.
And so identifying these gaps and how we have to make sure that when we know this gap, we have to make sure the business sells for enough to sustain this lifestyle. And if it can't, how can we fill in the gap through increasing the value of the business or reducing the expenses, or another way that's really going to help the client move and transition into what's really important to them, and help them with this transition financially.
Well, and one of the ways, obviously, to increase the value of a business, because it seems to be the most prominent value detractor, and that's owner dependency. How can we create a business that's not dependent on the owner, or at least at less dependent on the owner? I'm sure that that comes up a lot for you with your clients, and I know it's a place where I start many times with a lot of the clients that I work with. Not all of them. Some of them have other issues with operations or sales or both, right? Sometimes it's a partner issue, but as we know, you know this because you're a SEPA, I'm a SEPA. It's really, really important that we plan ahead of time, right? So if we wait to start planning until we're actually ready to exit, that could be super detrimental because we have no time to, like you're talking about, close those gaps, right?
Exactly. Exactly. If you wait till you're ready to sell, you're already too late.
Yeah.
And we typically say 3 to 5 years away from exiting is when we should start planning. But quite frankly, I really firmly believe that exit planning is just good business planning. So whether you think you're 3 to 5 years away, don't wait. Just start now. Because
Hmm.
what's the harm of having a plan to exit the business and making your business more valuable? I don't see a downside to it ultimately.
There isn't, especially if you're the kind of person who likes to have options. And, it isn't that we need to choose our exit path right out of the gate when we start planning, because that's actually the opposite of what I recommend, because we really don't even know yet, right? We have to educate ourselves first, figure out what our options could be, but not necessarily choose a path unless we absolutely have to, right? Unless something happens and then you are forced to, which we're going to talk about next. But if we do have time, let's just figure out all of the things that we know we should be working on or should have been working on all this time, but just haven't taken the time to do it. In other words, what's the catch up work? That's why it takes 3 to 5 years, right?
Mhm.
Because there's always
Exactly.
catch up work, right? There's catch up work with the financial advisor, there's catch up work with the accounting firm to normalize the financials, there's catch up work with the attorneys, updating legal documents and things like that. So don't wait until the end when you're ready to sell because it'll cost a lot of money to hire all those people all at once. It's going to frustrate you, it's going to scare you. We don't want that to happen. So do yourself a favor and plan early, right?
Absolutely. I
Hmm.
couldn't agree with you more. And that's really part of our process when we're onboarding and inviting clients to join our family of clients is really identifying these gaps. And then we don't do it all at once, but we have regular progress meetings where we address the gaps and the opportunities to improve their overall situation.
So when we kind of go down that, like, I'm waited too long path, or I've been forced to make a decision, we have identifiers, right, where certain situations create, like, we have no choice. We're backed into a corner. We have to do something. Let's talk about what that might look like when a business owner is not able to actually choose their path or choose their exit. What does that look like?
Yeah, it's a good question, really, because I think we don't realize that the majority of exits of businesses, they happen because of the 5 Ds. There's one of the 5 Ds generally, we don't get to choose them, they just happen to us, right? And the 5 Ds are death, disagreement, divorce, disability, or disruption, whether it's competition or economic disruption. And I'll give you another story actually about these 5 Ds. Obviously, when you look at that, this divorce, disability, those maybe highlight, but we don't think about it, especially if you're in a partner relationship where there's
Yes.
multiple partners.
Mm-hmm.
Disagreement could happen at any point, right?
Yes.
You have one view of how the business should grow. The partner has a different view, and then the third partner has a completely different view, and you just can't agree, and it's causing stagnation in the business. I have a client experience, a client story that I'd like to share about this that I thought was really valuable. One primary business owner, there's three partners, one primary business owner really ran it all, but he was 50% owner. The other two were silent partners, and the active owner would get the call on Sunday evening when a client needed something, and he had to go into the business and handle the client need.
Hmm.
and they're at the point where they'd like to exit the business and sell the business. And he doesn't feel it's fair that he splits half the business with these two other partners when he's the one that's been for 20 years going in on Sundays and working 5, 6, 7 days a week at times, and taking away from his family that he loves and would like to spend more time with. And so these disagreements could happen at any point, right? And so they're really having we're working through a process now, but they're having a hard time agreeing on what's fair for the
Mm.
exit and what's fair for the sale proceeds. And that's something that could happen at any point if we don't address these things now.
Yeah, well, if their operating agreement didn't spell out how things are supposed to unravel, if they do unravel and what decisions need to be made, then they really can be in a situation, especially if they weren't working in the business and it was agreed upon that they just invest in the business, but they're not necessarily going to have a role. And then all of a sudden the 50%er goes, "Hey, wait, I'm doing all the work." Well, if that's what they agreed to, right? But if they didn't agree to that, then they actually spell that out and what everyone's role actually is in the business, because that happens too, right? Where you'll have partnership situations where they are supposed to be carrying a full load equally and one isn't and the other is. Kind of goes back to that fair versus equal conversation, right? That a lot of owners have about their kids in or out of the business, but it happens with partners too.
Exactly. Exactly. So waiting till you're ready isn't the best scenario if you can. Let's start preparing and have these conversations. These are hard conversations to have. Let's start
Hmm.
having these conversations now and get it out in the open so we know you could have a little more freedom operating in your business without this weight on your shoulder, knowing that you have to have this conversation at some point.
Yeah, definitely. And I know too that corporate Edward Jones is providing a lot of new exciting tools and plans and programs for you to be able to offer to your clients. So maybe we could just spend the last couple of minutes of the show here talking about what's new and what's coming and what you've just launched. I know it's quite a lot, but a lot of that is definitely focused towards helping business owners have the best transition possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we do so much with business owners now that it's it's overwhelming actually at times, but we have a great referral network where we help with business banking, commercial real estate, equipment financing, tax and legal services, even valuation services,
Right.
ESOP services, all sorts of even family governance, especially for those business owners who are family owned businesses and they want to keep it in their family. They're not looking to sell, but maybe they're looking to transition into children. How can they? Some children are involved, some children aren't. How do we go about this, right? And so we have so many great services that we can pull from to that aren't maybe Edward Jones specific, but certainly through our network that we can lean on to help our business owners through whatever, help them accomplish whatever they're looking to accomplish ultimately.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think because, when we talk about exit planning, like you said at the beginning of the show, and how you help the owner, form the team, collaborate with the other advisors, there's always going to be situations. I mean, I think when I look back on all the clients I've had, every single situation I've had opportunity at least once, but usually more than that, to bring in professional services of some kind that we needed that I don't do myself, right? So, to your point, maybe you need family business governance because it's a generational transfer and they don't have anything set up and it's more complicated than what I can handle myself. I know the need, I see the need, I can ask the right questions, and then once I know more, I can bring in the right people. And for
Right.
you, as a large corporation, you guys have got those like great strategic alliances or relationships, if you will, all dialed in. So it's not just like, I'll call somebody if I feel like it. It's like, no, they're actually in the Rolodex, if anybody knows what that is anymore. But you know what I mean? So I just think it's great that you guys are so intentionally collaborative and aligning yourselves with other services outside of your firm and even inside the firm, like that you're adding. So that's really great. And anyway, so any final thoughts or final tips of advice that you'd like to give our listeners at this point, Vincent?
Yeah, if I could just drive home the few points that we made again, really, exit planning is good business planning, right? And start now. Start now. Don't wait till you're ready to sell. Begin the planning process now. Find a good advisor that you trust to work through and work through an established process, right? You touched on
Hmm.
earlier about all of our accolades that we receive nationally, and it's because we have an established process that we work through that just works, and
Yeah,
that's really all it comes down to. And if I could leave listeners too with two actions to take as well. Number
sure.
one, for every business owner here, if you haven't had a valuation of your company recently, do that now, right? It never hurts to understand what the value of your business can be worth now, especially if we're looking at dividing the estate or dividing up the proceeds of the exit to who you want to maybe give it to children or how much you could get for yourself so you can plan properly. And then second, I invite everyone if to connect with me on LinkedIn, and we have a complimentary review service for all your listeners. We will take you through our process, take you through this service, and identify there'll be one of three outcomes. Really, one, we'll take a look at your overall situation and tell you everything looks good. Keep on doing what you're doing. You have the right people in place. Keep going in the direction you're going in.
Mm.
Or the second outcome could be we identify some opportunities, some gaps, but we may not be the professional to help you with closing those gaps and those opportunities, and we'll refer you to the right professional. Or the last thing could be we identify those gaps, opportunities, and we think we can make a significant and meaningful difference to you, and we'll invite you to join our family of clients. That's a complimentary review that's open to all the listeners today.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure and have a connection directly to you in our show notes and in social media as always. And so I just want to say thanks for being on the show, Vincent. Super fun talking with you. I love your entrepreneurial background. It really kind of helps you, I'm sure, have those conversations, those meaningful conversations that you talk about with your clients. And thank you to our listeners for joining us, for sharing this episode, for your comments, and to our sponsors as well. Please support our show sponsors. We couldn't do this without you. Thanks a lot, Vincent.
Thank you so much, Julie.